So, how many people should be involved in the branding process? Well, on the first part of it, the discovery phase, if you're the business owner watching this now, then you really want your key stakeholders in there. So, your top team, the people that you believe are going to be really honest and are really engaged and passionate about the business. You also want, to be honest with you, if you look at, depending on how big the business is, a bottom to top selection of people. So you want someone who's on the shop floor, and then you obviously want your senior management and decision makers in there, because what that does, it provides a complete overview of the business. You get a voice from each part of the business, so that's really important. And what we generally find is within the discovery phase is a lot of businesses never really get the chance to do that, and especially if they do it, it's on their terms and in their environment where people are quite guarded and are obviously want to protect their mortgages and their salaries. So they may not be as honest as they are when they're off home turf, if you like. And what we tend to find is we can get some quite heated debates around the business and where it's heading, and actually that's a really good thing because everyone has an opportunity to air their view of it. And actually what comes out of that is a much more honest, clear view of the business, which is great for us because then that obviously, as we've discussed, feeds into the whole process, the branding process and the visual outcome of that. So ultimately, depending on how big your business is, in a workshop we'll generally have between 3 to sort of 7 people. We've had up to 30 before, but that was quite a pretty big organisation. So it really depends on how big the organisation is and how long the workshop would need to go on for. What I would say for the process, so that initial phase would be more people involved, but once that phase is out the way, if you're the business owner, you really need to be focused on finding the person that is going to be the conduit between the business and the agency. So the agency always needs someone from the business's side to almost own and manage the process. And you want someone that's very proactive, that's got lots of energy, who's really engaged in the process. And it's not just one of those things that they have to deal with. They've got to want to be involved, and they've got to want to help drive the project forward and to get the best out of the project. There's nothing worse for a business or an agency than someone that is just completely reactive, who isn't really that bothered. They're just taking a paycheck. They're not interested in branding, or they don't really see the value in it, or they're just not that bothered, to be honest with you. That's no good for the business, and that's no good for the creative agency. So you want someone who is really super engaged and who isn't afraid to speak their mind. Now, obviously, there is a limit to that, and it's important that either party can rationalise any opinion they may have on any part of the process, because ultimately, creativity is subjective. So with everything we do, we have to rationalise why something is done like this, and it should be the same for the client. So if they're not comfortable or happy with something, that's fine, but it's really important to explain why and have some sort of real clarity on understanding of that, because ultimately the more the teams and both parties work harder and work with energy for positively together, the better the outcome will be. So yeah, up front, 3 to 8 people. Throughout the process, one person from the business side driving the project, and then we'd be presenting back to a smaller team, so potentially the person driving the project, the owner of the business, and maybe 1 or 2 key employees as well. So I hope that makes sense.